Welcome, willkommen, welcome to Berlin, welcome to Google Developer Day 2011 in this beautiful city. Wow, what a crowd. This is the final tour of our GDD World Tour, or the final event of our GDD World Tour. We were in 8 beautiful cities around the world already, and this is the grande finale. So welcome very, very much. It's actually our 4th GDD in Germany, and the first one in this beautiful city here in Berlin, and I have the feeling it's probably not going to be the last one, right? Woo! What a crowd. Our first GDD was actually in Hamburg in 2007. Anyone who was there back then? We had about 120 people back then. Last year in Munich, we had 1,200 people. And today, we're probably more than 2,000 or so. This is really, really amazing. And this makes it by far the largest GDD of the entire world tour. So this event in Germany is actually growing faster than Moore's Law. Wow! Anyhow, I promise you that we will have a very special event to close out this world tour. We are extremely excited about the involvement that we have with you, the developer community, and we're very much looking forward to fantastic, interesting sessions where we can engage with you, where we can have fantastic discussions about Google technologies, and where we can learn from you, the developer community. We wouldn't be where we are today without you, the developers. We have a fantastic Google developer community in Germany, Austria, in Switzerland. I think we have even people from Slovakia and from Finland here. Anyone? Yeah, all right. In Germany, Austria, and Switzerland alone, we have 17 GTUCs. 17 GTUCs. That makes us the largest GTUC community in all over Europe. And the youngest 2 of those were actually founded just 2 months ago. So happy birthday GTUC Bremen and happy birthday GTUC Ruhr. Woo! Welcome to the GTUC community. You all helped us to create this fantastic event. You set up the GTUC lounge that we have up in the balconies of the main foyer. You set up the developer sandbox. I think this is the first ever that we have a developer sandbox at a GDD. And you also organized the Ignite sessions during the program. So really, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, what makes this very special, and I want to call out one person in specific, Niels. He was sort of the mastermind behind organizing an entire developer weekend for you guys that started on Thursday already, went through Friday, is peaking with today, and I think there's still something in store for tomorrow. So this is a 4-day developer weekend. Thank you so much. And maybe we can have all the GTUC leaders and the organizers of the developer weekend stand up for a second for me. Niels, all right, over there. So if anyone wants to get more involved with the Google developer community, these are the community leaders you want to reach out to. So please find them, please talk to them. They would be happy to get you more engaged. Also, as a thank you to all of our developers worldwide, we started to rethink the way we want to engage with you, the way we want to get feedback from you, and the way we want to support you. So how we can make that better, take a look.
The web is always changing, and the way we access it is changing. The source of that change is you, developers all around the world who are using our tools to create great new things. And with so many tools, the sky's the limit. But it can't happen without you and your ideas. We want to know you better, so we've created a new place just for that. To hear from you. We want to hear what inspires you as a developer, and how we can help. Here you can record a video, share stories with us, and more. Let us know what being a Google developer means to you. And you can talk to us in person at Google Developer events all over the world, so that we can learn how to support you better. Oh, by the way, we also started rolling out a new site for Google developers. Not just code, but community, news, tools, and other resources. And cake. Like any open source project, it's a work in progress. With your help, it can be great. developers.google.com/stories. Change is important to the web. Help us keep changing it together.
So you heard it. We want to hear your story. Tell us what inspires you and how we can support you better as a Google developer. Tell us what's important to you and how we can better develop you as a Google developer and a Google engineer. We set up a video booth in the main foyer where you can actually do exactly that. Tell us your developer story. So go use it, and we will definitely value your feedback. Beyond developer stories, we are also always interested in reaching out to academia and to research. And in the beginning, I told you that we will have a very special event today. And one of the ingredients that makes this event special is actually that we have partnered with two of the most innovative universities in Germany, the Humboldt University to Berlin and the Technical University of Berlin. And in order to actually tell you what these universities are working on, we created a special track in the program where we get insights from them, where we learn more about their interesting research. And I think they also brought some posters and demo that are outside. So I'm personally very excited about that. So to hear more about what those two universities have to offer us today, I'd like to welcome on stage Professor Johann Christoph Freitag, Humboldt University zu Berlin, and Professor Volker Markel from the Technical University of Berlin. Welcome.
Well, let me introduce Humboldt already a little bit. Are there Humboldt students around here? Oh, a few of them. I'll read you. Okay, this is the main building. Humboldt started in 1810. We have now 39,000 students, almost 600 professors. That includes the medical school, the Charité. So quite a big school. It's located at the Unter den Linden, and it's distributed around the eastern part of Berlin. Those of you who don't know, Humboldt has been a very famous place for a long time. I'll show you a few of the Nobel laureates here, and I hope we can continue this tradition in the near future. One or two things have been very important, at least in my life. I think as a professor it's important not only to be involved in teaching or in research, but doing both at the same time. And if you ask my students, they always appreciate that I can tell them the newest things, and those with whom I work together enjoy that I know how to express myself. So being on both sides of the coin, I think, is very important. You might also know that Humboldt has been connected quite well over the century to computer science. This is the famous person. Every one of you know him probably, John von Neumann, the Neumann architecture. He was, at the beginning of the 30s, as a postdoc, you would say today, at Humboldt University, and he gave lectures. And this is a piece which shows what kind of lectures he was. He was not here as a computer science person, but as a mathematician. So pretty important. Unfortunately, he had to leave Germany because of the Nazis and continued his work in the US. So here you can see him in front of one of the first machines that were created because of his great ideas. If you want to know more, we have three sessions in the afternoon, and we welcome you to hear what great things we do. Beside the demos we invite you to also look at our ideas and see how we can connect here. I think your input and your ideas are welcome for us as well. Thank you.
So, thank you, Christoph. And now I'm here to introduce TU Berlin, Berlin University of Technology. So who is here from TU Berlin? Woo! Very good. So, TU Berlin is a university that started actually in the 1770s as a mining, agricultural, and industrial engineering school and became a Royal Technical College in 1871. It also, during World War II, actually got destructed heavily, reopened in 1946, and is now one of the leading engineering and science schools in Germany with about 30,000 students and 7 schools. So our schools, you see here on the slide, and I'm from the School of Electrical Engineering Computer Science, which is a fairly big school, the largest computer science school that we have here in the area, with 3,500 students, out of which 1,700 are computer scientist students and 700 are in the area of computer engineering. And from a research perspective, as we already heard, it's very important to combine research, innovation, and also technology. And at TU Berlin is really the cradle of what you would call rocket science, in the sense that Wernher von Braun, who you may know as the person who brought the people to the moon, was a student from TU Berlin, so there's a lot to aspire for. But at the same time, we also have brought up at TU Berlin several important innovations that are relevant to computer science, including the electronic microscope and, very importantly, the world's first computer, the SUSE computer. And here at the Google Developer Day, we are showing some interesting talks as well from our strategic research areas. So TU Berlin has a couple of strategic research areas that impact our society as a whole. That is health, that is medicine, that is traffic, transportation, energy, and information and communication technologies. And today you will hear 3 talks from TU Berlin in the university research session, one by Anja Feldmann about the internet and about the internet architecture changes and new ways there. So Anja is one of the greatest scientists here in computer science in Germany, an award winner of Leibniz Prizes and many other prestigious awards, and she will tell us about internet architectures and what's the future there. Then we will hear a talk that's actually a collaboration among TU and HU and some other universities in the area about a research unit stratosphere for big data analytics, massively parallel computing in the cloud. And I'll give that talk in the research session. Later on, you will hear another talk about machines that learn from Klaus-Robert Müller, another very prestigious researcher at our school that has been working a long time for Fraunhofer, also has won many awards, like an Alcatel-Lucent award. And he will not only talk about machine learning, but show you some very new ways of how we will interact with computers in the way that the computer will just read from your brain. So he's one of the principal investigators and inventors of the Berlin brain-computer interface. And I'm sure that's a very exciting topic. And we also have, together with also Humboldt University, a lot of interesting demos and posters. So please also come by and see all the exhibits that we have there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, SUSE, von Neumann, and Christoph and Volker. It doesn't get any better than that. Thank you very much. Very exciting. So today is all about amazing and innovative technologies. And to now tell you more about all that, I would like to introduce you to our first keynote speaker, who will take you on a journey through time. So please welcome my dear colleague and our first keynote speaker, the one and only James Whittaker. Take it away.
Born in the USA. Ah, you guys are good. Was that a little born in the USA I heard there? You can't tell them I'm American, right? Not only did we take credit for John von Neumann, there was that whole war thing. Sorry. There's a global economic recession. Sorry. Particularly to Germany. Sorry. We're glad you're rich, though. And then we stole Jürgen Klinsmann, didn't we? That's just not right. So I'm James Whittaker. I'm a software engineering director. What that means is teams of coders report to me. I own the Google Plus APIs. I do some security testing around the company and lots of tools. This is the last GDD, and there's a big group of people over here dressed just like me, because we planned it that way, who have been with us from the start. We've done 8 cities. This is the last one, and we're kind of bummed about it because we don't want this to be over. This is a lot of fun for us, reaching out to developers, talking to you guys about what you need from us, what we can do for you, and how we can work together. This all started just 2 months ago in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And a lot of us were there. And in that 2 months, lots of things have changed. You know, the things that we were able to give to the Brazilian development community are completely different now because we've progressed. There are new APIs that weren't available then that are available now. There's new features of Chrome and Android that have come out since then. And we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest stuff. So this deck that I'm going to be going through, which, by the way, is an HTML5 app, no normal slides for you guys. You deserve more. Has had to be updated constantly because in 2 months the world has changed. But I want to start even further back than that, all the way back to 1990. 1990 was really the birth year, the coming out year for this web of interconnected computers. 1990, 21 years ago. If the web was American, it would just now be able to buy a drink at a bar legally. This is not that long ago. And there wasn't much you could do with the web in 1990. By show of hands, does anybody have a cell phone in 1990? No, me neither. Did anyone have an email address in 1990? Ooh, wait, hang on a second. Was anyone born before 1990? Raise your hands. Okay, just checking. 1990 was a good year, especially for you guys. In 1990, the Berlin Wall came down, right? Reunification, October 3rd, 1990. And in 1990, there was something else that was important that happened for Germany. You won the World Cup. Now, what do you get when you mix a World Cup winner with the birth of the web? It's a magic shirt. Wonder if we'll ever win one of those things. We have a German coach, you never know. So now in 1990, there wasn't much you could do. I had an email address in 1990. I got my first email address in 1988. I knew exactly 4 other people with email addresses, and they all sat within a 10-foot radius of my desk, right? Email was by far the worst way we could ever communicate with each other. It was more like, dude, I got a file. It's over here. Now, that wasn't good enough for the developer community, though. You continued to push technology. There's a web of interconnected computers out there. What can we do with it? Well, we did some pretty amazing things with it. Even statically, the world became smaller. Information stored on one machine could be fairly easily viewed on another machine. And the information age really began in earnest. Sharing was for the first time possible in the early 90s. So now in the early 90s, any cell phone owners? Oh, there's a couple out there. They were big, weren't they? Heavy bastards. I mean, my daughter, we were watching, I think it was Pretty Woman or something, and Richard Gere comes out with this phone, right? And he's talking it's still connected to his car. And my daughter goes, good God, what is that man holding? Things are different now. What about email addresses in this time? Email addresses? We're beginning to come online now, aren't we? We're beginning to be able to do things and share information in ways that we weren't able to do just a few years ago. But it was really the software developers of the world who took the only 2 tools available at this time, a text editor and a markup language, and that was it. You didn't have anything else. You had VI and HTML, and yet we still push the web further. We didn't develop apps, but we developed very compelling websites. And it wasn't long before those apps became real, before client-side scripting became a reality because developers pushed the technology providers in that direction. We need to be able to accept input and produce output. We need to be able to check inputs for errors. We need to be able to use the power of the client in conjunction with the power of the web in order to do the things that we wanted to do. And it was really you guys, the software development community, that pushed us forward. How many people had web access, cell phones, email, etc. during this time? The numbers are growing, right? All throughout the web, the number of users have grown, which means the number of customers have grown, which means business began to be real on the web. In the late 1990s, the early 2000s, this was the age of the enterprise. This was eBay. This was Amazon.com. This was not only people consuming information on the web, but doing business and making money and building brands. This was a really amazing time on the web. How many people had email addresses and cell phones during this time? Okay, I can stop asking you, can't I? You get the point. It's grown up, and it's grown up fairly fast. This is a decade, a single decade. And things changed again. In the early 2000s, instead of sitting in the office and consuming information and apps for 8 hours a day and then going home and doing other things, we now had the power of the internet in our hands. We went from the desktop to mobile, and now information is consumed 24 hours a day, and it's not just at work, it's at home, it's in shopping malls, it's in airports, it's in forests. I live in the state of Washington in the United States, and I can go into the middle of Mount Rainier National Park, and I can surf the web. This is a 14,000-foot mountain, and I can surf the web on top of it. This is crazy. Now, mobile really took over, and in a way, the web has gone away, right? This web of interconnected computers where everybody has to put a web server on their machine to share information, those days are really gone. We have a cloud, we have big data centers, and we have mobile. And things get a lot faster, things get a lot richer, and the capabilities that software developers can bring to bear in their applications becomes really amazing. And the types of apps we see coming out now, Foursquare, Spotify, right, the serious third-generation web applications are bringing in millions and millions of users worldwide. It doesn't take much anymore to be really successful on the web except for a really good idea and access to brilliant developer skill. Now, we can help take that brilliant developer skill and smooth the way to an application. The ideas are your own. And that's what GDD is about. It's about communication between Google and Google developers to make you guys more successful and your lives a little bit better. So what's next? What is after the cloud mobile era? This future web that we call it. Well, that's what this conference is all about. We are going to display the latest and greatest Google technologies from Android, from Chrome, from Cloud and App Engine, and the newest member of our API suite, social. We also have Google TV people here. We have Maps developers here. If you have any questions about any of these things, find somebody in one of these shirts and ask them. If they don't know the answer, they'll find someone here who will. There are 40 Google developers from around the world who are here today to help answer your questions. Now, we're going to start with the little green guy, Android. Do we have any Android cell phone owners out there? It's not just your money that the rest of the world likes, Germany. It's your taste in mobile operating systems. So, there are 4 billion cell phones worldwide. More cell phones than TVs, more cell phones than PCs, more cell phones than landlines. Of those cell phones, the Android market is growing 60,000 as of February 2010. That number multiplied by 5 by December of the same year. And it nearly doubled again by July. We're sure it's doubled by now, but we just haven't been able to have the time to update this slide. Android is a large part of this market. 200 million Android devices are activated worldwide, from 48 different phone manufacturers, 277 carriers, in 137 different countries. Android users, your customers, are everywhere. Now, it's one thing to have a phone, but what about applications? Because that's where you guys come in. You don't want them just using the phone, making calls and texting. You want them purchasing your applications. Well, in the first 20 months of being able to install apps on an Android, we had 1 billion app installs worldwide. In the next 5 months, that number doubled to 2 billion. And in less than 5 months, we added a third billion, and today it stands at over 8 billion application installs on Android. This is a shocking, amazing number. 300,000 Android applications are currently in the Android marketplace. And we've also added recently the ability to not only buy applications while you're using your phone, but also at your desktop, on your laptop, on your Android tablet, you can shop from the comfort of your living room. Now, we have multiple ways to bill now as well. You can do direct carrier billing, you can do in-app billing, and you can bill to a credit card. So, and what we find is that when we add APIs and capabilities for new ways to bill your customers, they come through. When we added in-app billing, we noticed a revenue increase for our application developers. So as we introduce new APIs for new ways to charge for these applications, people are using them. And we're also noticing that the latest operating systems are growing in the number of application users. So as people get the latest and greatest version of Android, they consume more apps. They install more apps and they use more apps. So as we innovate on the platform, we're providing opportunities for application developers to monetize those innovations. Now, we have had a number of very colorfully and food-related names for our Android operating systems, but there's one new one, ice cream sandwich, that I want to do some demos. And I'm going to bring up my friend, where is he? Sparky Road, to demo this for you. Oh, Sparky. You know what? I don't even have a comment on this one. Take it away.
Okay. Servus. Ja, ich bin Sparky und ich arbeite bei Android Developer Relations in München. However, in light of the fact that this is a very international audience, perhaps I should continue my presentation in English. So I'm here to talk to you about my favorite thing, which is Android, and in specific, I'm going to try to show you some of my favorite new treats that we've packaged into Ice Cream Sandwich. So let's see. Hello, good morning. Are you going to see me? No. Are you going to see me? Maybe the microphone is in the way. Let's see. You know, it's a live demo, right? You know it's live because it doesn't work. So it worked better in the dark. I don't know, maybe my telephone likes to be intimate. So let's not talk about what's in pockets. So, no face unlock today. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, gee, kind of dirty, huh? Schmutzig. Yeah. Lederhosen, great for polishing screens. So, okay. So, everybody knows that Android is a powerful operating system, and the problem with powerful operating systems is they tend to be kind of geeky. And we wanted to tone that down a little. So our goal for Ice Cream Sandwich was to make Android simple, beautiful, and beyond smart. And so I'm going to try to walk you through some of the ways that Ice Cream Sandwich is simple, beautiful, and beyond smart. And in case I forget, I have it written down right here. So, right. So it all begins with people, right? I mean, you are not a collection of technologies. You are a person, and we think that the things that you use every day should reflect the fact that you're a person. So the first thing that we did was we replaced the contacts application with people, because, I mean, that's really what you interact with, right? You interact with people. So here is the people application. And you can see it's cleaned up, we've prettied it up, it's beautiful. It has these beautiful high-res photos that where you can let your friends and relatives present their best face. And on top of that, it's integrated. So this is a little bit of the Beyond Smart, that not only does it know who you're connected with, but also what they're doing. And with a simple swipe, you can see what's happening in their social streams. And so you can say, oh, look, my friend Tim Bray saw the new Tintin movie. Well, I saw it too. It was fantastic. Who else saw Tintin in 3D? Oh, yeah, I have a tablet that makes movies in 3D, so I'm going to use it to make the next Tintin, I'm sure. So, who else here has one of those 3D tablets from LG, just out of curiosity? Yeah, a few of you. Did you get it from me here in Berlin? Maybe. Okay. So, in Paris? Okay. What else did I want to show you? Yeah, so it integrates with your social streams, and it's not just Google+. There's an API for this. You can add other social streams, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, but this is what we've got configured. Also, because, of course, this is all about me, your phone knows who you are. Apparently, I'm Rich Heinemann. Well, I used to be Sparky, but I paid €9 for the upgrade. So, yeah. Hi, Rich. How you doing? Hope you're enjoying the keynote. So, yeah, this is demo foo, right? Rich is the best demo guy we've got, so I had to be him today. So I hope he doesn't mind me borrowing his identity. And another thing that you can do now is say I want to call my good friend Sparky. Oh, I don't know Sparky's phone number. Oh, but maybe my friend knows Sparky's phone number. Ah, so we do. So let's see, we just put our phones back to back. And we link them up. Say, join. And look, now we have Sparky's phone number. Just like that. Okay. So that's a bit of the simple and beautiful. Now I wanted to maybe show you a little bit more of the Beyond Smart. So I wanted to show you some other things that you can do with NFC Beam. Like, for example, say you're, that's another one of my favorite features of Android, of Ice Cream Sandwich, the recent applications. So suppose I have a friend who's staying at a hotel near you. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Do you all recognize this hotel? This is where I'm staying. This is the Zeehof. It's on this beautiful See. So yeah, I thought this demo was good on a tablet, but it's great on a phone. And I said, but where's the I want to know where the airport is. So again, we just kind of, choop. Oh, so that's where the airport is. So you just, you select your location. You can go in as much as you want. I'm having a little trouble with the Wi-Fi here, so I might actually not get any data. But let's see. So just back to back, tap, and they sync. Except that this one doesn't have a data connection right now. So, got another phone with a data connection. Maybe this one is working a little better. Hello, do you see me? Yeah, we'll try this one later on. Okay, the other thing is, suppose that you're sitting together with your buddy, and he leans over, and he happens to see you playing a really fun game on your phone. Hello? Nope. Wrong device. You didn't see that. So, nope, this one. Go back. Live demo. Scripted, yes. Rehearsed, sort of. Right. So, a shout out to my friends here. Okay, so, right. So the idea is that you're playing this really fun game, you're tossing some sheep around. So, and this wasn't supposed to happen. But at any rate, so if your application knows about the API for NFC Beam, then you can control what happens and you can define the behavior. But even if you don't do anything, if you just have it on your device, if somebody sees an application on your phone that they like, all you have to do is go back to back, tap the screen, and it'll take you to the Android Market page for that application. That is the default behavior of NFC Beam. So. Oh, I have to toss some sheepies and get some stars. Hello, sheepies. I wanted to show this off because this is one of my favorite games by a very good German software developer, just like you. So, and the last thing, so let's see how brave I am, because my Wi-Fi has been a little bit dodgy in here, but I'm going to tempt the wrath of the demo gods, and I'm going to try to do something that involves real-time live network data transfer. So one of the things that we introduced in Ice Cream Sandwich is improved speech recognition on the phone. We now have a conversational real-time mode where you can basically just talk at your phone. And so I say I want to send an email to some friends of mine. In any text field, you just open up the microphone and then you start talking. So let's see if this works. Let's try it auf Deutsch. Hallo zusammen, das freut mich sehr, mit Ihnen zu sprechen heute über das Thema Android. Oh, the demo gods are not happy. I think my data connection is too slow. I'm using a prepaid SIM in this. So, let's see. Who else has network? Just click the done button. Let's see. You are connected. Let's try it on this one. Okay. So, let's try it on here. I can select my language. Hallo zusammen. Das freut mich sehr, mit Ihnen zu sprechen über das Thema Android. Got partway there, didn't we? Oh. Oh, but wait. Let's try it in French. Ce soir, à la foire, nous sauterons. Nous suggérons. Je vous suggère. Yeah, okay. Let's try it in American English. Would you like fries with that? Okay. Back to German. Ich bin ein Berliner. There we go. And since you've all been such a wonderful, fantastic audience, I would like to take home a picture of all of you. So I'm going to just make myself a little panorama. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, you in the back, smile, please. Okay, just like that. We have to wait a little bit. Now it's processing my panorama. You can see a preview there. And as soon as I remember to, a little bit later in the day, I will post this on Google+. So, and there it is in my gallery. So there we are. Ice cream sandwich, a few of my favorite things. So, I'll see you later.
That's Android. Let's talk about social. Do we have Google Plus users in the audience? Maybe I could just skip these slides then. You probably know what this is about circles. This is sharing rethought, sharing based on the way we actually share information selectively in the real world. You're probably familiar with Hangouts as well, which has been a killer feature of this. You're probably familiar with Google Plus for mobile as well. And we've also just introduced Plus Pages with an API for business and organizational presence in a social network. But you're probably not interested in those sorts of things. You can see those on Google Plus. You're probably interested in the platform, the API, being able to build applications that include social signals, social data, and social media. Would you say you might be interested in those sorts of things? Then let's go directly to a demo. And my friend Jonathan Barry is going to come up and do this demo. Jonathan, where are you, my friend?
All right. So, as we just mentioned, Google Plus has a lot of great features that users love. But by far, the most impressive feature and the most adopted is Hangouts. Can I get a show of hands? Who's done a Hangout here? Raise your hand. Cool, cool. Has anybody here done a Hangout for work? Okay. Now, has anybody done a Hangout while drinking? I'm going to use 2 for this one. Now, if you're doing both together, you better be really good friends with your boss. Just a word to the wise. When we launched Google Plus with Hangouts, we included some applications built right in. We have a shared YouTube experience, Google Docs for collaborative editing, and even screen sharing. But probably what all you are most excited about is the new Hangout apps that we've launched in developer preview. Now I'm going to pull up the demo machine. Page has changed. And as part of the developer preview, you have to create an app in a special sandbox. And for all developers that you want to collaborate with, you have to send them the application for them to test it with you. I'm actually going to do that right now. Fantastic. And to get them the application they need, you can send them via email, via chat. I'm going to use Google+. I have a colleague in the audience who I'm going to share with. Party. Okay. And as I'm pulling this, he's going to be picking up and joining us just in a minute. And as we wait for him, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Hangouts themselves. So the first thing you notice, this kind of looks like a standard Google Plus Hangout, except with a few differences. One is the big red banner that reminds you you're in a developer preview, but otherwise it's the same thing. So like any Hangout, I got to make sure my hair is good. And I can jump right in. Now for this demo, for anybody who's been in a Hangout where there's only one other person, you might have seen this sad robot. And we decided that we're going to throw a party for the sad robot. Before I actually jump into the code, or the application itself, what is a Hangout app? Well, a Hangout is just JavaScript, CSS, and HTML that you upload to our servers, and you can go ahead and deploy that into a Hangout. During the developer preview, only other developers can access that application, and they have to be pre-registered. Looks like the internet's a little slow, waiting for Ade to join. In the meantime, I'm going to start the party. So it's a party for robots. I got to pick which robot I want to be. Blue with spikes. And I'm going to jump right in. So the first thing you notice when you look at the robot is his head is moving. And that's because we have an API that allows us to access the volume of the microphone. So as I talk, his head moves. We have other APIs that you can tap into. You notice that my Google Plus profile picture's there. So I can pull in some of my social data that way. Still waiting for Ade to join. In the meantime, I'm going to get some music going. It's a party, right? DJ, can you turn that up a little bit? Yeah, thanks. Okay. I'm going to grab a drink while I'm waiting for him. Now, this is all written in JavaScript, and you can tap into our API to do event-driven applications, and it's really easy. If I had Ada here, I could show you one more thing. Well, this is a German party, so let's at least make it a little bit more festive and appropriate. The other thing that I like to demo is the... oh, we have a friend joining the party. Is how you can have more people.
No, this one's one. Ah, there, yeah.
Ada, we don't see your robot. But that's okay. There he is. So, Ada, why don't you walk around a bit and show us how you can move. So now, if you're in the room right next to Ada, you'd actually see his character move in the same position that it's moving on mine. And that's because, as part of our API, we have a real-time backend system that we call a shared state. And the shared state is just a shared JavaScript object that's JSON, and we manage the population so it goes across all instances of the application. And to just demo that, we have a little simple debugger. Had to go easy on the beer. We have a talk later. And that shared object is populated across all. So I'm going to grab one more beer. That's a bigger beer, right? Oh, poor Eddie. Anyway, if you're interested in learning how to build Google Plus Hangout apps, come to my talk later this afternoon. Thank you.
Ooh. Well done, man. Well done. So the best is yet to come with social. There's this whole track on social. There's a whole track on Android. If you're interested in either or both, pick and choose those wisely. There's a lot of good information there. We've been releasing Google Plus APIs at a pretty brisk clip. Most recently, we're Plus Pages and Photos, and there's lots more to come, so stay tuned. For the second half of the keynote, I want to bring out my friend Ian Fetty, who is going to be going through Cloud and Chrome. Ian, come join me.
Thank you, James. I am so glad to be back here in Germany. This is actually my second time speaking at a Developer Day event here in Germany. The first was in 2008 in Munich, and we had just released Google Chrome. Now we're here, 2011, so many exciting new things to talk to you about. I can't wait. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is our cloud development platform. So, jetzt geht's los. App Engine. App Engine is obviously at the center of our cloud development platform. Can I see a quick show of hands? How many people here use App Engine? All right, I'm seeing a lot of hands. But I'm also seeing some people who didn't raise their hand. So for those of you who didn't raise your hand, maybe you're not familiar with App Engine, or maybe you prefer doing it yourself. Maybe you prefer going out, trying to get a bunch of machines. You spend some time recompiling PHP so you have all the right modules. You tweak your my.conf file so that your MySQL performance is what you hope it might be. And you spend all this time setting up your servers. You spend all this time on maintenance and development. That time comes away from the time that you have to spend on your app and your user experience. And you risk letting the user experience fall off the top. At Google, we realized that we were spending so much time when we're trying to build these world-scale applications. We spend all this time on maintenance, on deployment, on these issues that really aren't central. So we decided that we would make App Engine. App Engine lets you focus on innovation. It lets you focus on your application. So App Engine is a great web hosting and application hosting platform that's built on some of the same infrastructure that our own Google applications use. Put simply, App Engine lets you focus on building your applications without having to worry about all the management, deployment, and scaling issues. So who all is using App Engine? Turns out lots of people are using App Engine. Everything from the official royal wedding website to financial applications, corporate applications. Over the past 7 days, there were more than 200,000 App Engine applications running. 200,000. And those applications generated more than 2 billion page views in a single day. 2 billion. That's huge, even by Google standards. That puts App Engine as one of the top Google properties by page views. Absolutely huge. Great growth. So what kinds of applications are people building on App Engine? Well, it turns out they're building lots of applications. Things like mobile applications, enterprise applications, and of course, some of my favorite, games. Who doesn't love Angry Birds? Absolutely love Angry Birds. In May, at Google I/O, Angry Birds released an HTML5 version of their game. They used the Google Web Toolkit and the new Play-End gaming framework to port their application to HTML5. But what's really cool is that they launched it on App Engine. And let me tell you, when Google I/O happened in May, there was a huge spike in traffic to this application. When Google Plus Games launched, another huge spike in traffic. And because they were using Google App Engine, they didn't have to worry about finding more servers and scaling. It all happened for them. Google App Engine helped them scale and helped them deal with those huge spikes in traffic. We also see lots of mobile applications being built on Android. From iOS to Android, App Engine gives you all the simplicity of a great shared state server without having to worry about the scaling application. When your game goes viral, like Angry Birds, you don't want to have to worry about your back-end server falling over and having to display some cute sorry message to your user. You just want things to work. With App Engine, you get that scalability. So there's a few recent announcements about App Engine that I'm super excited to share with you. The first is that App Engine is now a full Google product. App Engine is out of preview. So what does that actually mean? Well, what it means is that for paid developers, for paid accounts, there's now a 99.95% uptime SLA. This is huge. Also, there's now paid premium support, and we've revised the terms of service to be much more business-friendly. We now offer things like invoice billing, and we've accredited with a bunch of standards that are super important to large service organizations. You can see these on the screen. So another API that recently came out of preview is Google Cloud Storage. Google Cloud Storage lets you take your data, whether it's small, things like user preferences, or even huge data, like terabytes of data, and store it in the cloud with a simple RESTful API. This data is accessed, the access is controlled via OAuth 2.0, so you can either share it publicly, you can control sharing with groups, or with individuals. Another API that recently graduated from preview is the Google Prediction API. Super cool. Not sure if many people have heard about this. Turns out Google actually has an army of PhDs and some PhD dropouts like myself focused on machine learning. And the Prediction API gives you access to that technology and that knowledge. With the Prediction API, you build a model based on past historical data, and this model is then used to provide interesting predictions on new data. So you can use it for things like determining the language of an email, or perhaps more interesting, if you have a shopping cart, you could use the Prediction API to do something like look at the items in the shopping cart and predict what other items a user might be likely to purchase. So these are some APIs that recently came out of preview. There's also some new APIs in preview. One of the newest APIs in preview, next. One of the newest APIs is Google Cloud SQL. So we've heard from a lot of people that they really like having a relational database. MySQL is easy to use. Why can't we have that in the cloud? Well, now with Google Cloud SQL, you do have a relational database in the cloud that you can use with App Engine. It's a managed database. You don't have to worry about all this. You don't have to worry about the setup. The data is all replicated, and it scales. Google Cloud SQL, there's talks this afternoon. If you haven't seen Google Cloud SQL, definitely check it out. Super cool. So, of course, actually hosting your application and scaling your application is only half of the problem. The other part is, what HTML APIs do I have, and what browser do I actually use to render that application? I've spent the past 4.5 years on Chrome, so I might be biased, but I think that Chrome is by far the best way to do this. So let's talk about Chrome. One thing that people might not realize about Chrome is that Chrome is actually made in Germany, at least partly. Wieland, whom you met earlier, manages a team of engineers in the Munich office who work on Chrome. They've implemented a ton of cool features, everything from enterprise support, which lets you configure Chrome by group policy, super important for large businesses. They've redone the settings UI to make privacy settings clearer, centralized, easier to manage. They now work on V8, which is our super fast JavaScript engine. And of course, they're now working on a new extension API called the Web Request API. The Web Request API is super cool. It lets you basically change outgoing requests that you can build your own privacy controls as an extension. Another reason I'm so happy to be talking about Chrome in Germany is that Germany is one of the countries where we launched Chrome OS along with Samsung. We're seeing great Chrome OS adoption in countries where we launched. Super cool. Another thing is that we had a Chrome Web Store launch earlier this year, and there was a developer competition. The winners of that competition are actually here at GDD, and they'll be showing their applications during the Ignite sessions. So definitely check that out. Also, Germany is one of the greatest places to be developing an HTML5 application. Why is that? Well, across the world, we're seeing a growth in use of modern browsers, things like Chrome, new versions of Firefox, Safari. But in Germany, the percentage of users using a modern browser is over 83%. This means that many of the APIs that we're going to talk about today, both in the keynote and in the session, you can already use. And over 80% of your users will be able to actually use these APIs. So Germany's super ahead of the curve, super exciting. So why is that? Well, Germany has great use of Chrome and Firefox, but globally, Chrome is also growing. When I started on the team, Chrome had 20 users, 20. And it didn't work that well. It crashed a lot. It wouldn't run Gmail. Today, we've got 10 million times more users. We have over 200 million Chrome users. This is huge. We launched in 2008, and it's growing super fast. There's also some countries like Chile, Argentina, India, Pakistan, and the Philippines where Chrome is the #1 browser. Huge, tremendous growth. So when we launched Chrome in 2008, we were really trying to just get a browser out there that worked, that rendered the pages that existed in the web as it existed in 2008. But since then, we turned all the dials to 11. We really wanted to push the web forward. We wanted more APIs, more capabilities for developers. So things like geolocation, things like offline APIs, video APIs, storage APIs, all of these have been accelerating, coming out at a super fast pace. The APIs that you have to work with today are so much richer than what you had in 2008. So some of the coolest APIs that have been really pushing the web forward in the past year are around 3 main areas. One is graphics. So when we launched in 2008, you had the Canvas API. Canvas API is cool. It lets you build 2D drawings on the fly. This is great for things like charts and graphs, but sometimes you want more than 2D. Sometimes you want 3D. So now you have WebGL, which lets you actually do 3D graphics in the browser at high frame rates. Super cool. You've also got new offline storage APIs. So 2008, 2009, you had App Cache. That lets you serve JavaScript and HTML while you're offline. But what do you do with all the user data? What do you do if you're building an email application? Where do you actually store the emails? Where do you store the attachments? Now we've got brand new APIs, things like Index Database API, things like the File API and File System, and of course device access. So bringing things like not just geolocation, but also microphone access, speech recognition. I could go on and on about all these new APIs, but rather than me just standing up here, why don't I bring my good friend Mike West on stage, who's going to give you some demos about what you can do with HTML5.
Thanks, Ian. So, HTML5 is really an amazing thing, and I'm very glad that I get a chance to demo it for you today. I'm Mike West. I work on the Chrome team in the Munich office. So, ein herzliches Grüß Gott. Grüß Gott? Nee? Servus. Servus, das ist ja besser. Wie war's mit Tag? Tag? Nee, okay, whatever. Regardless. The really great thing about working on the Chrome team is that you get to play with a lot of new APIs that are out, and you get to play with them in a browser that supports them better than most. We've talked about modern browsers in Germany. Chrome is one of the best, and I might be biased again, but I think it's awesome. One of the things that I'd like to talk about are the graphics APIs that are associated with Chrome and with modern browsers in general. One of those that gets a little bit less play than I think it should is called SVG. SVG is scalable vector graphics. Scalable vector graphics means that you're playing with vectors as opposed to playing with pixels. This means that no matter how big the screen is that you're rendering in, or the canvas that you're rendering into, you get a clean picture free of jaggies. The general demo that you see with SVG is a tiger. You've all seen the tiger. There's a little magnifying glass that you move around. It's exciting, it's interesting, but it's not very useful in a real-world situation. There's a new library that's come out that allows you to take data and render that data in really interesting ways, really visually amazing ways that engage users with the data that you're showing. This library is called D3, and there's a great presentation that came out just earlier this week. One of those slides is the following. This takes the market cap of a variety of different companies and shows them in interesting ways using SVG in order to render the information to the screen and transitions in order to move between these representations of information in a way that's very visually appealing. This gives you the information, but it gives it to you in a way that you can actually engage with and that you can learn from. It's much easier to understand information when it's displayed to you visually. SVG is really good for that sort of thing. And one of the things that allows SVG to be even better are the CSS3 transitions that you're able to use in order to move between representations of data. Some of these are represented here. For example, you can move between pictures using CSS transitions in a 3D manner. So we can have one image, you can have another image, and because you can rotate those images in 3D space just using CSS, it actually dumps all of that work out of JavaScript and onto the GPU hardware. So you can let Chrome do a lot of the hard work for you of taking these sorts of 3D transitions that would be really quite difficult to do in a performant way in JavaScript and move them directly onto the hardware in a declarative fashion. Because it's declarative, it can move onto the graphics hardware in a way that's very difficult to emulate with JavaScript. Going further in the direction of 3D, we have something called WebGL. WebGL is a mechanism that allows JavaScript to render data directly using the GPU. In this case, we have this guy. This guy is Mr. Doob. Mr. Doob wrote a library called 3JS, which is probably the best way of interacting with WebGL. It's a very simple interface on top of a very complicated system. WebGL means that you use JavaScript to write C++ or a C++-like language and shove that directly into the GPU. So you have shaders and fragments, and you are able to take these fragments of code, stuff them directly into the GPU where they can run very, very quickly. What Mr. Doob has done here is taken a connect, used the data from the connect, shoved it into 3JS, and is now rendering a scene based on the connect data. You see the colors here are simply the distance away from the connect, and you get a very interesting 3D image of what's going on. This is something that simply wasn't possible a few years ago. But what's slightly more interesting, I think, than something just pulling data from a connect is actually generating data on the fly. This is a dynamic procedural terrain demo. In other words, everything that's being generated here is being generated on the fly by the GPU. We have the ability to move around in the scene. These birds that are flying by are actually from the Rome project, ro.me, which you might have seen earlier at I.O. What's really nice about this is that it proves that one of the really powerful ideas in the web is that you're able to share data, and you're able to share data in a way that allows you to stand on the shoulders of giants. He didn't have to create these birds himself. He was able to take them from a different project, insert them into his own, and make something new and exciting out of it. All of this terrain is being generated on the fly. You can switch lighting modes such that you get a good, interesting 3D image. And actually, you can also animate the terrain such that it's, nice and ripply and actually quite pretty. I like that a lot. The last demo that I'm going to show you is not graphics, but kind of graphics for your ears. We'll put it that way. This is a web audio demo. There's a new audio API that's supported very well in Chrome, and we're cooperating with the other browser manufacturers in order to come to a standard of what this audio API is. If you played with HTML5 at all, you've probably heard of the audio element. The audio element is a mechanism by which you can load audio data directly into a page without plugins. It works relatively well, but its API is quite limited, especially when working with games, simply because it's very difficult to say that a sound should play at a particular time And it's also difficult to work with the sound in any real way. You're not able to pull that data and do something interesting with it. For example, if you wanted to have a visualizer, you would need a mechanism to take the audio data, throw it into a buffer, and then work with that buffer in some way to render something on the screen. What you see here is a MP3 being loaded into the page via the Web Audio API. The data from the MP3 is streamed into a buffer, and then we can render the information from this buffer on the screen in an interesting way. This is also being rendered in SVG, and because it's rendered in SVG, it's relatively easy to play around with the rendering. So here you're able to move around the spacing, you're able to play with the width, and also you can adjust the playback rate. That doesn't sound all that good. We'll flip back here. This allows you to take an image. There's a WebKit mask in CSS, which allows you to take SVG and map it onto an image using a masking. You're also able then to use CSS3 transitions on this image, such that you're able to rotate the image while rendering data onto it via Canvas. This is really quite powerful, and because you're able to work with the data directly on the screen, you're able to manipulate the data coming from an MP3 or from any audio source and render it interestingly on the screen. You can also do nice beat detection with a good Chrome logo up here. But what I think is really quite cool is inviting other people to the party. If we know somebody, actually, that we could invite to the party, how about the bug droid? He can dance around a little bit, it's a lot of fun, but what really gets the bug droid going is volume. So if we turn this up just a little bit, let's see if we can get him excited. Yeah, excellent. So we've got some good music going, we've got a bug droid that's really happy, and he's really happy because HTML5 is awesome. I'll leave you with that. Thanks, guys. I'm going to bring Ian back up on stage to talk about the rest of Chrome.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike, for the awesome demos. So Mike showed some of what's possible with HTML5 today in the browser, but there's new APIs coming out all the time. I don't have a lot of time, but I want to highlight just a few that are coming out right now. I know there's a lot of Android developers out there, and you guys have something super cool called intents. You don't need to know how the Facebook API works, the Google Plus API works, the Twitter API works if you want to share something. You just throw out this intent, and the system magically handles that. All the other applications handle the complexity of dealing with the intent. On the web, this isn't the case. If you want to have the capability for someone to share your web page, you end up putting 50 million buttons on the page. You have a +1 button, a like button, Twitter button. There's all these buttons, and you have to know how their API works or include their code. With web intents, we're giving you the capability to hook pages together so that you can simply say, I want to publish the intent to share this page. When the user clicks on this button, fire off the share intent. And then if the user is a Google Plus user, a Facebook user, a Twitter user, and has those configured in their browser, those applications can handle the share intent. So intents, as you know them in Android, are coming in a slightly modified version to the web, and this is going to be huge. Another thing that's happening is we're making changes to JavaScript. So we've got the team in Munich working on making JavaScript faster, but we're also making fundamental changes to the language, trying to make it faster, and putting out something new that we call Dart. Dart is basically JavaScript with the addition of things like static types and other things that will make it easier to develop IDEs for JavaScript, as well as making it faster. We're also making changes to the fundamental guts of HTML in the DOM. So how many of you have seen the HTML5 video controls in a browser? Or maybe a file upload control or other controls. So many of the controls in the browser are actually written in HTML. But you never see them get weird and funky if a page has weird CSS. The reason that we're actually able to write controls in HTML in a browser is because we can give them encapsulation. We call this Shadow DOM. Shadow DOM lets you write a component in HTML, and inside that component, you can use things like CSS and JavaScript to style your element, but it's encapsulated inside of a component so that the things outside of that component don't affect it. So if someone has weird JavaScript or CSS on their page, that won't affect the inside of the component, and likewise, the CSS inside your component won't affect the page outside. So the ability to have encapsulation, absolutely huge. We're also adding things like Flexbox layout. With Flexbox, you can take a div and you can vertically and horizontally center it in a page in one line. If you've ever tried to do this to both horizontally and vertically center something on a page, you know exactly how hard it is. This is huge. Things like native client let you take native code, C++ code. If you have something that's super performance critical, things like physics engines in a game, or you've got existing C++ code that you want to reuse, native client lets you compile this code and use it on a page with no installation, no security warnings. It just works and it's fast. So, of course, having the ability to build a great web application is super awesome, but then how do you get people to use the application? How do you get people to find it? The Chrome Web Store is designed to help with that. We released the Chrome Web Store earlier this year, and since then, we've been able to take the 200 million Chrome users and point them at applications to the point where we're now getting tens of millions of application installs. The Chrome Web Store, which looks like this, we just had a new launch of the new UI where we're now even getting more daily installs, more user engagement. The Chrome Web Store lets users find your application. It lets them read reviews, see how many other people are using the application, and perhaps equally important, it helps you monetize the application. There's two ways to do this in the Web Store. One is you can charge for your app. So of course you can have free apps in the Web Store, but you can also have paid apps in the Web Store. This is available in multiple countries, including Germany. This works today, so you can sell your applications through the Web Store. But for some people, that's not quite enough. They want to have a free app in the Web Store, be it a game or something like a magazine application, and then they want to be able to charge inside of the app. You can do this in Android. Why can't you do it in the web? Well, now you can. We just announced a new in-app payments API for Web Store applications. And my favorite part about this, for the payments, we only keep 5% to cover transaction fees. The other 95%, that all goes to you. It's your money, in-app payments. It's available now in the United States. Unfortunately, it's only in the US right now, but over the next few months, it'll be rolling out to more countries, including Germany. Super cool, helps you monetize your apps in the Web Store. Yeah, that one's worth applause. That's great. So the Web Store helps drive traffic. There's a ton of user studies you can search for online. I just want to highlight three. One is SpringPad. When SpringPad launched in the Web Store, it doubled their web app signups. Another is the World Golf Tour. For people who installed the app, they had 23% more play activity than users who just browsed their website. And they also support in-app purchases. There's 147% more in-app purchases for Web Store users compared to users just going to their website. And finally, Todoly, basically they doubled their traffic almost overnight after adding a Web Store app. Absolutely huge success stories. So again, you might have seen this in commercials on the web. The web is what you make of it. We hope that you all are going to make the web great with your great applications. Thank you so much. I want to hand it back to Wieland. Thanks again.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to?
All right. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you, James. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jonathan. Great keynote. And thank you for being here. Chrome, the platform, social, mobile, all these technologies are coming together. And if you look at the abilities that all these new technologies and APIs will allow you, the developers, to build new, enriched social apps, make the web, make the world more interactive, this is amazing. I can't wait to see all these applications that you guys will produce with the new APIs and the new technologies we introduced today, and we will continue to introduce in the next few months and years. So the web, the applications will get richer, more interactive, and more social. The more interesting businesses that you will create out of it will come. The web of tomorrow will be extremely exciting. So, yes, all right. So, history has shown us that you will build these stunning and new applications and you will push the web forward. And with that, this brings us to the end of this keynote. And I'm actually hoping that you enjoyed the keynote, but I hope even more that you will engage in all the sessions that will come up now, where you actually can give us feedback on how we do. You can learn more about these technologies, and we can engage with you. If you have any questions, James mentioned it, there's 40 people running around in these blue shirts, and just ask us, and we will hopefully help to answer them. We also have the latest statistics, and we in fact have more than 2,000 people that are joining us today. So this is indeed the largest GDD of the 2011 World Tour. So give yourself a round of applause again.